a bowl haircut, like this, like a cloud, like a piece of cotton ball.
Freedom, confidence.
Or how not to look like a pyramid. Hi guys, so let's talk today about plus 10 years hairstyle alert. This is hairstyles that I mostly see women after 50 still do, but sometimes women after 40 and after 30. Just recently I made a video about makeup mistakes. I'm gonna leave the link down below, and in today's video we're gonna talk about hair. Hair is more important thing than makeup. If you go without makeup, let's say you're wearing sunglasses, okay, but hair will speak louder than your makeup if we talk about your style. So in my viewpoint, the most aging ever hairstyle and haircut is a bowl haircut, like this. And also especially women from that part of Europe where Russia, Ukraine is, quite often have rounded head shape. I'm not talking even about face shape. Head shape. That means they have quite wide cheekbones, quite rounded face, a bit smaller chin sometimes, and the top of their head is more flat, so their head is kind of rounded from any angle. And that is slightly different from round faces from Asia, for example. These women also can have round faces quite often, but it's very often that their faces are quite flat. Sometimes they don't even have any shadows here in the nose because it's almost at the same level as their faces, their eyes, their cheeks. If you look at their faces from the side, their face is almost flat like that. And Russian, Ukrainian ladies, Belarus ladies, they very often have this round head situation. And they've been taught that in order to elongate their head, they need that short pieces on top. So they need to elongate their head, their body, their face. So they're doing this with their long pixie or bob with fringe, and then they style it in a curling manner just to give it a little bit more volume. So their crown would be slightly higher. We call it apex, yeah, that last point of your crown. This is actually not just hair, it's huge amount of different elements in this type of photos that give us that dowdy effect, even where the picture was made and the pose. And if you're interested, let me know in the comments. I definitely gonna make a separate video about this because style-wise there's a lot of things that can be changed and can be transformed into something completely different, same body, because all the women are very beautiful, but they can't even imagine how much younger they actually look. And many of those women after shower they look actually younger than after they spent some time to make themselves look like that. So this blowout technique on the hair, I don't know, maybe it started in the 50s when they had that long pixie style Marilyn Monroe kind of a thing. It was very layered long pixie haircuts, and they would curl their hair with curlers, and at that time that was actually very pretty. In the 60s, they were not concerned that much about the curls. It was more about the volume. So sometimes they would do whether bobs or longer hair, still going for that volume, or they would still go for that grown pixie to be able to back comb their hair. Normally they would comb it back, especially if they have this small fringe here that would be rounded, and tons of hairspray. Jacqueline Kennedy, First Lady, it must be something good and elegant. Okay, not a problem. It actually spoke together with the clothes that she was wearing and with the body type that she was. Everything is important. It's not just hair. So if you copy someone's hair but the rest will stay the same, you will never look like this person. It can actually create an opposite effect. When you're copying someone, you also have to understand why you're copying this person. For example, when I look at nowadays princesses, I love how they look, but I would never copy their style. I would not want to look like them, even though I understand that they are probably dressed absolutely beautifully, very elegant, and with the help of great stylists to look very upstart, upgraded, luxurious, and on top. I don't need it. I have different lifestyle. I'm singing rock and roll. I can't imagine myself in this type of clothes, but I love watching them because I know they have their own story, their own universe in which it's very organic looking. It's very natural for them. So I think it's very important also to make clothes and hair match your lifestyle. If you still can't stand yourself with longer hair, if you don't like bobs, for example, in this case, we have approximately two ways. There are several pixie cuts that look modern. So the shape of your pixie has to be not rounded, not make a chupa chups, but it has to have these two diagonal lines going kind of like from the bottom of your cheek up here and slightly wider here at this area of your head. Now it depends on how you style it and how it's cut. So it's a little bit safer to cut here on the sides a little bit and then make the hair slightly longer on top. Then you can style it whether upwards it will be slightly tomboyish, or you can actually make it slightly lower. You can curl it or just create a little bit of a volume and still make your fringe slightly like a curtain. Open it up. That vertical line for your forehead will make everything very smooth, and you will look much more elegant with that. So that is one way how to do it. Now, if your facial features are quite dry, if you don't have much fat here, musculature, much flash, let's say you have triangular face, quite dry, taut cheekbones, basically bones and skin, they normally look great with different kinds of short pixie, like boyish haircuts with shaved sides and shaved back. So it's gonna be great for you. It's just you can find different kinds of ways how you can style it. On YouTube there's a lot of videos about this. So that is one way. If you really have that round face situation, round head, what I recommend, growing the front hair longer and making your fringe long, then it can go slightly higher and shorter as we go to the back, and then at the back slightly shorter, so you would have still some volume on top here, and the hair on the back and on top would be slightly lighter, and then here you would have heavy fringe. But the fringe is best when it's not central parting again and not too much on a side parting. It will make you look much more rounder than that. The parting should be again 1-2 centimeters away from the center. From here, we have this slightly elongated fringe up to this side, kind of between bob and pixie. This is gonna be the best pixie. Yeah, maybe a little bit more time to style it, but that's fine. You spend not less time, maybe even more time to actually create that. Now, if you're brave enough, let your hair grow to the bob. This is the most universal haircut for anyone. It will make your face look more oval. Your top will be still quite easy to lift up slightly, maybe with some back combing, or if you really have a good hairstylist, they can actually make very slight layers on the back just to lighten the crown area. This hair would be lighter and they will lift themselves up. Then you're having this bob with straight lines by your face. Even if you put it behind your ear, don't worry about it. It's gonna look nice. If you hate it, if you still need some kind of a layering by your face, which I understand some women, they don't like that heavy pieces by their faces. They feel like it's making their faces look heavier. There's another remedy for that. Vertical layering by the face. It has to be gradual. So this hair by the face will still play with the wind, will create some lightness by your face, but this vertical line will actually make it look much slimmer if you still want to go for that. If you want to put your hair behind your ears, you still can have some kind of hair framing your face here on the sides. Avoid all these flying strange shapes with tons of layers. It's just gonna give you a lot of untidiness, especially combined with certain colors, which I'm gonna talk later. I have a great video, not every haircut looks good with every hair color. There are some rules about different kinds of highlights for hair and balayages and with which haircut that can look good. I'm gonna leave the link down below on that one too. If you still want to go for bangs, especially shorter bangs across your forehead, be careful with that, especially if you have elongated face and kind of more mature face. I would never do this cross bangs without ball haircut. If you want to do this kind of smaller fringe, whether you have slightly curly hair, it can look stunning, but again, you have to have slightly doll-like smaller features on your face to have that. Button-up nose, doll-like eyes, doll-like lips, and those features themselves can look nice with the fringe. So there's always exceptions of each rule that I'm talking to you about. Advice number 2, if your hair is curly, leave it alone. You don't have to straighten your hair. It's beautiful. Just make it work for you. Many women, they're straightening their hair just because they don't know how to look good with their curly hair. It depends on the cut, the color sometimes, and the way you style it. Now, today's there are loads of different hair products for curls. There are many of them with natural ingredients even that help you to define your curls. They're amazing because they give you a thick hair appearance. Even if your hair is very thin, it looks like you have a lot of hair. Your hair looks very rich, and the more rich it looks, the more healthy and younger you look automatically. Sometimes what you can do, which is very stylish, you can cut 2 or 3 small strands of hair at the front here and style it as a curly fringe. So preferably the curl would stop at your brow level, maybe slightly below. And then if you have these 2 or 3 thin curls, first of all, they won't piss you off. I think Second of all, you slightly push them up there with water or with some spray. And also there are different kinds of volume on top that you can create with curly hair. Also there are videos on YouTube about haircuts for curly hair, or you can look up for volume for curly hair, or how not to look like a pyramid with curly hair, things like that. Another thing that I don't recommend, layered bob with bangs. It's close to the first haircut that I showed you, close to that bowl. This one is very uneven, untidy looking. Normally its ends are all over the place, and it's kind of not that shaggy hairstyle that is quite trendy lately, but it also looks good on just certain type of women with certain type of a lifestyle and style direction. And it's not easy to maintain. If you think that you will spend less time every morning, not really. Just to achieve that look, it's many products and it's like a certain routine on how to do that. If you don't know what to do, grow your hair and just do this straight bob with straight cut, it will always look more stylish, more modern, more trendy, and more timeless, even more classic. Especially if you're doing that slightly elongated at the front bob, because normally it cuts that bluntness and you don't look as squarish and as wide. Normally that type of a bob which has a little bit longer at the front, not too much longer. It shouldn't be difference like more than 1, maybe 2 inches. The safest way is going along your chin. So when you lift your head up, it should be parallel to your jaw here, like this. And preferably it should be in the middle of your neck. This is the perfect length because it's not gonna curl outwards when it reaches your shoulder area, but still it's not gonna be too short, because here again we have a tendency to have our neck slightly wider and slightly more squarish appearance in shoulder area in case you have that. So it's just the safest thing ever. Going for that bob, you will look very, very stylish and much, much younger. Even if your hair is slightly wavy or curly or a little bit wavy, there's always a way how you can style it, or how you can even dry it in a certain way so it would not be a problem for you. Now let's talk about 80s perm. There are still women who do whether that perm or curly hair naturally, but when they comb them, especially if the haircut is layered, the hair looks very fluffy, like a cloud, like a piece of cotton ball.
Freedom. Confidence. And then you feel as good as you look. It's a nice philosophy.
And that hair normally looks very untidy, dowdy, and very aging. So preferably curls should be slightly more chunky. The more chunky the curls, the thicker your hair looks. And they should not be stiff. So don't put a lot of hairspray on your hair. Now, avant-garde styles. There are still hair salons where hairstylists really specialize on that super strange avant-garde hairstyles and haircuts, and especially adding some weird hair colors in there. And they make you believe that it just will create such an interesting look for you. When women are looking like that in a fashion week, it doesn't mean that you will wear it in your everyday life. It's a form of art, first of all, and also it's the matter of surprise you and attract your attention. Then they put their name up there, and then they grab a lot of money, because attention equals amount of money. That trick works perfectly. Okay, now let's talk about hair colors. If it's bleached from the roots, especially in combination with all the hairstyles that I just talked about, it multiplies its dowdy and aging effect. So if it's yellow hair or bleached from the roots, it's gonna look quite cheap, like a wig or very old-fashioned hair. So the remedy for that, if you still like that overall bright blonde, add a little bit of that darker roots. So this is much more modern nowadays. Getting the toner maybe level 6, 7, or 8. It's just looking much more expensive and natural rather than overall hair color. Next one, too black hair, especially for women who naturally don't have black hair. And also in combination with extremely black brows that were drawn like with a pencil or tattoo. I understand it gives like that vamp woman, that dramatic, sexy, but on the other hand, it's just making the look, first of all, very unnatural, sometimes like a wig, sometimes it's really making all your facial features heavy. When people get older, sometimes their colors are getting a little bit lighter, which is also great. Their hair looks a little bit more gray, their brows, their skin a little bit more pale, which is also beautiful. It's just slightly different coloration. So it's quite safe to go for hair color that is slightly lighter than black, slightly lighter than your natural hair color for example, if it was black before. It's quite safe. Oh, some women, of course, who had naturally black hair from the beginning and they keep making their hair black, I don't think it's going to be a big problem. They probably already have black brows, so it's going to look in harmony. But I'm just talking about women with naturally brown hair, or especially with naturally blonde hair or dark ashy blonde hair. So normally it looks cheap. What you can do is just make it several tones lighter and go for cool brown color. What is cool brown? That means brown color with a little bit blue added to that. It gives that very beautiful, slightly mushroomy dark brown color. It still looks quite intense, so you won't lose your vampness, but it will just be a little bit more in harmony, more natural for you, as if you were born like that. Highlights without gradient or toning. Stripy highlights, it also looks very dowdy. The remedy for that is just color your roots, smudge it a little bit, just make a slight gradient to the rest of your hair with darker color, approximately the color that the low lights of your hair is. And then the rest of the hair should probably be slightly more toned, give much more expensive and elegant appearance rather than that. That looks quite cheap and very, very aging. Another hair color that I would probably not recommend to anyone is brown hair with Bordeaux color or dark Bordeaux hair, because this is that hair color that doesn't exist in nature. And I remember in the end of 90s, many women started going for that kind of a hair color. First, it was more like chestnut brick color. That was very popular, along with a brick lipstick, warm-toned makeup, slightly reddish brows. All that was very popular. But then at some point, they started doing almost that eggplant Bordeaux kind of a color. So I think it's very unnatural and cheap looking, especially in combination with all these hairstyles that I told you about. So be careful with that color. It's always much safer to go for beautiful, natural brown color, whether it's chocolate golden or more cool brown color. Sometimes it's worth to check your coloration, to check what eye color you have, what skin color, if you're more like to a pink skin, maybe pale skin and blue eyes, really cold eyes, maybe more cold brown would look a bit better for you. And then if you have, for example, warmer eyes or brown eyes or more yellowish eyes, slightly caramel skin, for you probably would be better chocolatey golden brown. All right, that's it. I hope that was interesting. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and very soon we're gonna discuss style mistakes too, and different kinds of elements, how you can actually get back to your nature much faster and look stunning and much younger. Stay tuned, subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you very soon. Bye bye.